don't know. I can't figure it all out tonight, so I'm just gonna hang with your daughter.
It's a movie about younger characters with a slant of authenticity that comes from observing real life.
Get ready for greatness, Lloyd.
I was not supposed to direct Say Anything. We had a list of people that we were going to go to try and, you know, have them read the script and see if they wanted to direct it. And when we got to the last one, James Brooks said, you should really think about directing it yourself. My first thing was, I wouldn't know where to tell people to stand. And he said, yeah, I'm still figuring that stuff out. You know, if it's in your heart and you have the script and you know how it should be, who better to direct it? The script itself was not kind of a slam dunk thing. There were problems that the studio had with the script, and one of them was, why does the dad have to be a bad guy? Why can't he be just a funny good guy? And we would kind of say, it's not the same movie if the father is just a funny good guy. You know, this is a movie about people that are tested by that kind of harsh thunderbolt that happens in life, and how you react is kind of who you are. And at a younger age, it kind of defines who you're going to be. And that's what the movie is. And without that, you can go see Pretty in Pink, which is a wonderful movie where nobody's really a bad guy, but it's been made. So this is kind of a different thing. And I think at a certain point they said, give it a shot. And that was how we got the movie moved forward. I just keep remembering walking into this diner in Chicago to meet John Cusack and seeing him turned away. He's a big guy. He's bigger than you even know from his movies. He was kind of faced away and he had a bandana on. I was like, wow, that's John Cusack. That is Lloyd. And I just felt like an electric pulse. That's the guy. I gotta get him. I have to get John Cusack to play Lloyd. John was a little reluctant about doing the part to begin with because he'd done movies that were set in high school and wanted to leave that all behind. So I spent time with him in Chicago with his buddies, some of whom are in the movie, Jeremy Piven and Greg Sporleiter and Patrick O'Neill. These are the guys that are all in the gas and sip scene. But I kind of like hung with this great crowd of actors in Chicago before John would ever commit to doing the movie. And that Chicago spirit with the actors made it into the movie. And John Mahoney is a big part of that too. I mean, he was like a Chicago stage god to these guys. And the fact that John Mahoney was in our movie too was a huge signal, I think, to John that we were serious about doing a movie about characters.
You're not a permanent part of her life. You're a distraction. I'm the distraction that's going with her to England, sir.
When the two of them are sitting at that bench together, and those two Chicago actors just going at it with the only goal of delivering the scene and the characters, and just like the kind of athleticism of those two guys going for their craft so strongly. I remember standing there and going, I'm a lucky guy to be behind the camera, and these guys are doing the scene. Wow. One of the things that John Cusack always said was, we gotta have the bass notes in this character. You know, we gotta have the depth in Lloyd, you know, and there's anger and fear in him too. And I'm like, hey, definitely. And he says, because it can't be a movie that's just everybody loves Lloyd. It can't be that. And I'm like, no. I always think of that kind of push and pull when I see the graduation scene, because John didn't want to put the mortarboard on. Laszlo Kovacs, who was the cinematographer, I remember he was saying, why isn't he putting on the cap? He must put on the cap. I'm like, it's a long story. He's not going to put on the cap. I remember him saying, there's so many movies about high school and everybody's wearing the cap in the graduation scene. He goes, what if Lloyd is a guy that doesn't want to wear it on that day? And that's going to make it a little different. And it was ideas like that he would bring always, and still does, to his directors.
Cut.
They're great. They're the little things that we're talking about 20 years later.
Pen. Dad, in a million years, I would never give him a pen.
I thought there should be something that traveled through the movie. And maybe it was a mixtape, or it was an item, or one of the souvenirs of a relationship or person that you really care about. Sometimes all that's left are the souvenirs. And I wanted something to travel between the characters. And I just thought, what if it's a pen? And it just kind of always stayed in the script through many changes. It was always, the pen always felt right, that there was kind of a little thread running through. You never know what lasts and what people remember, but the pen sort of seems like something that became an important part of Say Anything.
Write me.
Somebody once said, you know, if you don't fall in love with your leading lady a little bit through the camera as the director, you know, the audience might not either. I would kind of like look through the camera and really feel Lloyd's kind of quiet, growing love for this girl. It just felt true to me. And when we did the DVD commentary a couple years ago, they talked about it. And it was kind of amazing to hear years later that what I thought might be happening, or at least what was captured on film, was happening. They were quietly a little bit in love with each other, and you can see it in the movie. My first day as a director was the scene in the old folks' home when Lloyd shows Cocoon to the old folks. You know, it was kind of a wide shot. It looked good, sounded good. I was kind of amazed to be standing there that it was finally happening. But I kind of felt the scene, and so I was like, cut, and like, okay, I guess we're done. Somebody kind of whispered to me, now you gotta move in closer and get closer shots of the scene so you have something to cut to. I'm like, yes, you're right. You have to do that. You're right. We're moving in closer. And I realized that it was a day so shot full of adrenaline that you kind of lose track of how to put one foot in front of the other. And so at the lunch break on that first day, I went into my trailer, and I'm just sitting there going, wow, okay, so there's another half day that we have to do now. And I remember my friend saying to me, maybe you should leave the trailer and go and just sit down with everybody and let them see you're okay and you're gonna eat and it's all fine. And, you know, that's how a crew kind of works together. And you want to be a director that kind of leaves the trailer, and that's kind of how it's done. I was like, thank you. Leave the trailer, have lunch, right, the crew. Okay, directing, we're directing now. And that was the first day, and I always think of that when I see the Cocoon scene of just deep end swimming. Everybody cares. Everybody cares on a movie. The person, you know, making coffee, to the person working on hair and makeup, to the actors. Everybody wants you to succeed. And it's a beautiful thing to realize that you are not alone, and a director is supported by a family of people. And I learned that on the first day. Leaving the trailer and sitting at the table with everybody and kind of looking around, and they were looking at me with, go get 'em, we're here for you. And that was the beginning of Say Anything.